Welcome back to the channel. Today for you guys I got a deck profile for Mega Gardevoir. I think this deck has a lot of potential going into the Guardians Rising format testing, mainly because it gets kind of a guaranteed way to not only draw a lot of cards with Shaymins, but also with Tapu Lele to get free supporters, and then being able to ditch it with Gardevoir seems really strong. But this deck has kind of popped up here and there based on the format, and ultimately I think with our format it could be very, very, very strong. So I'm going to go into the list and see what kind of counts I play on certain things. I played 2 Dragonite. I think this card is really, really strong in this deck. You can grab any two basics you want from your deck, or your discard pile after you play it. So like you get your Shaymins back, your Tapu Leles, your Guardies, you get your Hoopa, whatever else. It's good in Ray, it's good in Guardy, especially Guardy because you can just ditch it after. And then, yeah, basically just do that. I play the Rattata right now. I think the Rattata is really good. Getting rid of Choice Band, getting rid of Fighting Fury Belt, getting rid of Floatstone can be niche too, depending. But mainly Choice Band is the big thing in this because Choice Band is godly bad for you because being able to swing harder hurts Guardies more, be able to one-shot could be bad. So ultimately I played that. I could play Field Blower this right now, which I decided not to for now. That could be a better option instead, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. 4 Shaymin is very, very standard in this because you could just play a bunch of Shaymins, draw a bunch of cards, and then just ditch it with Gardevoir. And then 3 Link Blast Guardy. I don't think this matters too much, but basically, if they have the same amount, you have the same amount of energy attached to your opponent's active. It does 100 instead of 30, so it's not too bad. And then like 3 for 120 discard, kind of gives you some outs against stuff like Glaceon or anything stupid like that could like get rid of Megas or yeah, like Giratina even probably be a good way around it, even though you play multiple Hex in this deck. And it's with Fairy, so another decent option. And then this is the Mega Gardevoir, Psychic and Fairy type, which is really strong in this format. One-shotting Garbs no matter what. One-shotting Giratinas, any Dragon stuff no matter what. And then also like Espeon and like Mewtwo. And then you discard as many bench Pokemon from your bench as possible, and if you do, just 10 more damage. So basically the idea is you play Skyfield, you play just a bunch of play the stadium gets you to 8, play a bunch of randoms like Shaymins, Tapu Lele, Rattata, Dragonite, that kind of stuff, and then just ditch it all for damage. Hoopa helps set up the deck a lot, which is very standard. I've seen about 2. I've seen 3 before. I like it at 2. I think it's better that way. And then I added 2 Tapu Lele to the list. I think you could possibly get away with just playing 1, but I like the idea of having 2 so you can just like spam Hex Maniac, spam Kukui, spam whatever else. So that's why I ultimately played that. 3 Escape Rope is pretty standard in this deck actually. Basically, if you start with anything other than a Guardy, you can just Escape Rope into a Gardevoir and then basically knock out whatever they send up. 3 Mega Turbo is very standard in this as well. It's a good way to recover energy, or a good way basically to go from having just a straight Guardy to being able to hit for Despair Rays with an Energy Mega Turbo attached. Trainer Mail at 3 is relatively standard. This was something that I originally, in my first list, I took this out, and I don't know if it's worth it, mainly just because of how basically the Gardevoir, how big Gardevoir is right now. It could not be worth it, but at the same time, I decided to keep it, so we'll see how that plays out. I might end up taking those out later, though. 4 Ultra Ball, 4 VS Seeker, very standard. 3 Skyfield. You could go to 4 in this deck very easily, but I felt like 3 was okay, especially since you don't need it like Mega Ray does. Because if you don't have it, you could still do 160, 180 with a Kukui by discarding your whole bench. But just the Skyfield kind of gives you more options that way. Now, I've seen anywhere from 1 to 3 Hex in this deck, and I think 2 is a comfortable number, especially now that you can search for it with Lele. Basically, any Ultra Ball, you can get you a free Hex, so I think that ultimately the 2 Hexes is fine here. I decided to play a little bit more techie supporters instead of the 3rd Hex, but I'll get into that as I go down. 2 Lysandre, 2 Ed. Again, that's kind of standard, maybe going up to 3 Ed. The big reason why I decided at 2 is I feel like this deck can take prizes pretty fast. If you hit the turn 2 Despair Ray, and if you just get like a lot of momentum stacking up, you could you could basically, Ed becomes kind of useless after you hit like the 2 prizes compared to 6. You just kind of just screw yourself. So that's why I ultimately play it at 2. You still play it because I mean it's one of the best cards in the format, but I think it's okay playing it too. I've got one Olympia here and one Kukui. Olympia is really strong in this because again, if you run into something like if they Lysandre up Hoopa or Lysandre up Dragonite or you start with it or whatever, you can just Olympia out of it to get into your Guardy, which could be really strong. And Kukui basically makes this deck really, really strong because it hits for the magical 210 now, which ultimately in this format it may not matter because everything is so like it's still beyond the 200, so that you don't necessarily need it. Well, the Kukui to save your Guardy, you can still hit for 200, which is really strong. And then like Decidueye's at 240, which doesn't matter. Mega Ray's at 220, which again doesn't matter. I just don't know if it's really like it's 210 is a magic number for some things, but I don't know if it's a magic number for everything that this deck struggles with. So as we test this deck more, we'll kind of go into that and see what ends up happening there. Opted for the 3 Sycamore. I felt like 3 is fine. I've seen 2 in this. I'm okay with it as long as you play 3 Ed. But the big thing is with that is you just have to be very careful. With 4 Shaymin and 2 Dragonite, Hoopas and Tapu Lele's and all this other stuff, you might not even need 3 Sycamore, but I think 3 is a good number. And then I opted to play a Flare Grunt. I wanted to play some kind of disruptive supporter, maybe like a Delinquent. I was thinking about, but I felt like Flare Grunt's better in this format with like all the DCEs, all the stuff that's running around right now. So I opted to go with Flare Grunt. 4 Spirit Link is a pretty standard in this deck. I've seen 3, but especially with how popular Field Blower is right now, you have to play 4. I think ultimately, like even like Mega Rayquaza may go to 4, even with the trade, just because of how popular Field Blower is. But it might not, honestly. But Guardy definitely needs to play 4. Even without Field Blower, I played it at 4, and I thought it was necessary. 7 Fairy is alright. Maybe going to 8, maybe playing a Rod. Mega Turbo helps with that, but again, it's one of those things where more energy control you have, the better. Some text that we were thinking about playing in this deck is like Oricorio, the one that searches for 2 energy. That could be really strong in this because you can always guarantee the energy. Pseudo Widow is good. You could limit your opponent's bench to 5 or 4. It's to 4, which that could be strong too if like Mega Rayquaza is big, Volcanion with Skyfield's big, stuff like that. What else could we play in this? Halucha. Halucha is another one where it's a one-sided escape rope where your opponent just switches to something, and I like that card. I actually originally played it in this deck. Only reason why I'm not playing it now is because of space. So it's one of those things where if I find out that something here is not worth it, I can put in a Halucha, I can put in one Pseudo Widow, I can put in one of those techs. But as of right now, I like the list the way it's at. I will be bringing this deck into stream either Wednesday or Thursday. I will announce when I'll be going to stream with this deck. I'll be streaming this exact 60, this Gardevoir list for you. So that way we can kind of work on it together. But this is kind of where I'm going to start at. If you've gotten to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate you taking the time just to hear my ideas on decks. And if you have any ideas, feel free. If you're playing the deck and you found something different, please feel free to comment, that kind of thing. I like sharing ideas. I like, especially with decks, like deck lists. I think that's one thing that's kind of like it's not a very open forum. It can be at sometimes, but it kind of just depends. But this is where I'm at right now with this deck, and I'll be taking it to stream again either Wednesday or Thursday. Normal stuff. If you like the content that I provide or like this videos I make, feel free to subscribe to me on YouTube. Check me out on twitch.tv/ChubbyChalupaTCG. Feel free to follow me on Twitter, CrabberNothing914. And then there's also a Facebook page I'm starting to get together at Chubby Chalupa TCG, where you can kind of get updates if you want to know when I'm streaming or when I'm doing whatever. So this is my video for you today. Again, I'll be taking this to stream soon. I really do appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much.